The Galactic Council chamber stretched across 3 kilometers of polished crystal floors. Thousands of alien beings filled the tiered seating, their voices creating a symphony of clicks, whistles, and harmonic tones. At the center platform, Ambassador Trell stood tall, his body composed of shifting crystalline structures that caught the light from a dozen artificial suns. Captain Rebecca Morris sat in the human delegation section, her hands folded calmly on the armrest. She wore the deep blue uniform of Earth's colonial fleet, 3 gold bars on her shoulder marking her rank. Beside her, Commander Thomas Wright drummed his fingers nervously against his knee. On her other side, Lieutenant Daniel Harper studied the holographic displays floating before them. The human petition for expansion rights has been reviewed by this council, Trell announced. His voice echoed through translation devices worn by every species present. Your species seeks permission to establish colonies on Category 4 worlds throughout the Orion Arm. Rebecca leaned forward slightly. They had been waiting 3 months for this decision. However, Trell continued, and Rebecca's stomach tightened, the council has concerns. Humanity is young. Untested. You have only achieved faster-than-light travel within the last century. Other species required millennia to reach such heights. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Therefore, Trell said, his form pulsing with what Rebecca had learned with satisfaction, we propose a test of worthiness. The holographic display at the chamber's center shifted, showing a rotating planet. It was beautiful in a harsh way, swirling clouds of gray and green volcanic peaks jutting through the atmosphere, vast oceans that looked almost black. Kepler 442c, Trell announced. A Class 0 Deathworld. The chamber erupted. Alien species began chittering, whistling, and honking with what sounded like laughter. Rebecca saw several delegates exchanging what she assumed were bets. Thomas leaned close. Captain, did he say Class 0? He did, Rebecca replied quietly. Daniel's fingers flew across his wrist display, pulling up data on the planet. His face went pale. Captain, this is insane. The gravity alone. What are the terms? Rebecca called out, rising to her feet. The laughter died down. Trell turned his attention to her. Establish a sustainable colony of no fewer than 400 individuals. Maintain that colony for 1 standard galactic year, approximately 13 Earth months. If you succeed, humanity will be granted full expansion rights to Category 4 worlds. And if we refuse? Rebecca asked. Then humanity's petition is denied for 50 years. You may reapply then. Trell's crystalline body seemed to shimmer with amusement. Of course, we understand if you wish to decline. Class 0 worlds have a survival rating of less than 2%. 7 previous expeditions to Kepler 442c have ended in complete mission failure. The longest any species survived was 9 days. Rebecca looked at Daniel. Give me the quick summary. Daniel glanced at his display. Gravity is 1.8 times Earth normal. Atmospheric pressure triple what we're used to. Native megafauna with documented aggressive behavior. Acidic precipitation. Active volcanic zones. Airborne spores that cause respiratory issues in most known species. Temperature swings of 40 degrees within a single-day cycle. Thomas whistled low. They're trying to kill us. They're trying to scare us, Rebecca corrected. She looked back at Trell. How long do we have to prepare? The entire chamber went silent. Trell's form flickered, the first sign of uncertainty Rebecca had seen from him. You, a wish to accept? Answer the question, Ambassador. How long? 6 months is standard preparation time for colonization missions. Rebecca nodded. We accept your test. Give us 6 months. We'll have 500 volunteers ready to depart. The silence shattered. Aliens began shouting in a dozen languages. The translation devices struggled to keep up. This is suicide, someone yelled. The humans have gone mad. Do they not understand what Class 0 means? Trell raised his arms, calling for quiet. Captain Morris, I must ensure you understand the danger. Class 0 is the highest lethality rating in our classification system. Most species cannot survive on such worlds even with advanced technology. We have never successfully colonized a Class 0 planet. Rebecca smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of someone who knew something others did not. Ambassador Trell, we understand perfectly. Humanity accepts your challenge. We'll see you in 13 months with our full report. She sat down. Thomas and Daniel stared at her like she had lost her mind. Around the chamber, council members began placing bets with renewed energy. The Quillian ambassador wagered the humans would not last 3 weeks. The Dracian Minister of Expansion gave them 2 months, and that was generous. The Vexian trade representative bet they would call for evacuation within 10 days. Not a single species gave humanity the full year. In the human delegation box, Daniel pulled up more data on Kepler 442c. "Captain, I hope you know what you're doing." "I do," Rebecca said calmly. "Send a message to Earth. Tell them we need volunteers experienced in extreme environment survival. Arctic workers, desert specialists, deep-sea engineers, mountain rescue teams." "You really think we can do this?" Thomas asked. Rebecca watched the aliens celebrating what they clearly thought was humanity's coming failure. "Thomas, they have no idea what they've just done. They don't know where we come from, what we've survived, what we're capable of." "What do you mean?" Daniel asked. Rebecca pulled up Earth on her personal display. Beautiful blue and green, swirling white clouds, looking peaceful from space. "They think we come from a garden world," she said quietly. "They have no idea that Earth would rate as a Class 3 death world in their own system. They don't know we evolved fighting for every single day of survival." She looked at her officers. "We're going to teach them what Deathworld natives can do." The colony ship Perseverance hit Kepler 442c's atmosphere like a hammer striking an anvil. Rebecca gripped her command chair as the vessel shuddered and groaned. Through the viewscreen, she watched the planet's surface rush up to meet them, jagged mountains, dark forests, and rivers that glowed faintly red from mineral content. "Gravity compensators at maximum capacity," Daniel called from his station. "Reading 1.79 times Earth normal. We're going to feel this." The ship landed with a thunderous impact that sent vibrations through every deck. Rebecca felt her body press hard into the seat. Standing would take effort here. Everything would. "All teams report," she commanded. One by one the section leaders checked in. No casualties. Some equipment damage. Nothing critical. Jack Peterson, the chief engineer, was already suiting up. "Permission to begin surface survey, Captain." "Granted. Take a full security team." Rebecca watched through external cameras as Jack and his team emerged from the airlock. Even in their reinforced exosuits, they moved carefully. 1.8 times Earth's gravity meant every step, every movement, required almost twice the effort. "It's like wearing a backpack full of rocks," Jack's voice crackled through the comm, "but the suits are compensating well." Dr. Margaret Stone practically bounced with excitement despite the gravity. "Captain, the biodiversity readings are incredible. I'm detecting thousands of unique species within a 5-kilometer radius." "Stay alert, Margaret," Rebecca warned. "Remember what the Council said about aggressive megafauna." She did not have to wait long. The proximity alarms screamed to life 30 minutes into the survey. Something massive was approaching through the forest. "Contact," a security officer shouted. "Bearing 270, distance 400 meters and closing fast." The creature that emerged from the tree line stood 4 meters tall at the shoulder. It resembled an armored rhinoceros mixed with a grizzly bear, covered in overlapping plates of bone that gleamed like polished steel. Its mouth opened, revealing teeth as long as human forearms. "Weapons hot," Daniel ordered. "Prepare to." "Belay that," Rebecca cut in. "Do not fire. Observe and document." "Captain, that thing could tear through our hull. And we're in its territory. Do not engage unless it attacks." The creature circled the ship, snorting and pawing the ground. Its massive feet left impressions half a meter deep in the soil. Margaret's voice came through, breathless with excitement. "Look at the muscle structure. The bone density must be incredible to support that mass in this gravity. Oh, this is magnificent." "Margaret, get back inside," Rebecca ordered. "Just a few more scans." The creature charged. It covered 100 meters in seconds, heading straight for Margaret. The security team raised their weapons. Margaret stood perfectly still. The creature stopped 3 meters away, snorting hot breath that fogged her helmet. It tilted its massive head, studying her with one enormous eye. Margaret slowly reached out her hand. "Dr. Stone, what are you doing?" Rebecca hissed. "Introducing myself," Margaret replied calmly. The creature sniffed her hand, then turned and walked away, crashing back into the forest. Margaret let out a long breath. "Territorial display. It was just checking if we were a threat." "Beautiful." Rebecca pinched the bridge of her nose. "You're going to give me gray hair, Margaret?" On the third day the storm hit. The galactic observers aboard their monitoring station watched in horror as clouds the color of bruises rolled across the sky. Lightning forked down in brilliant green sheets. Rain began to fall, rain that hissed and steamed when it hit the ground. Acidic precipitation, Observer Krell reported to the council. pH level 3.2. Lethal to unprotected skin. We should prepare evacuation protocols. But the humans did not evacuate. Jack's engineering teams reinforced the temporary shelters with quick-setting polymer foam. They redirected the acidic runoff into collection tanks. Within 2 hours the colony was secure. Then something happened that made Krell question his own sensors. Humans began going outside. They wore protective suits, but they were not running for cover. They were setting up equipment. Collecting samples. One group was actually measuring wind speeds and recording data. This is Observer Krell to colony ship Perseverance, he transmitted. You are advised to seek shelter immediately. The storm presents extreme danger. Rebecca's voice came back, calm and unbothered. Thank you for your concern, Observer. We're well protected. This is an excellent opportunity to study the planet's weather patterns. But, the acid rain. pH 3.2? We've worked in worse. One of our team members did research in Earth's Dallo crater. That's pH -1. Krell had no response to that. Through his view screen, he watched a human remove her helmet, tilt her face up to the rain-free overhang and laugh. By the end of the second week, the colony had established a secure perimeter. Jack's team discovered that the toxic minerals the council had warned about could be processed into incredibly strong building materials. William Ross, the agricultural specialist, found native plants that were not only edible but nutritious. Tastes like spicy cabbage with a hint of lemon, he reported cheerfully. I think we can cultivate this. Dr. Helen Carter set up the medical center and began treating the inevitable injuries. Sprained ankles from adjusting to high gravity. Muscle strains. Minor cuts. Not a single fatality. The first monthly report reached the Galactic Council. Ambassador Trell read it 3 times, certain there was an error. Population, stable at 500. Infrastructure, 70% complete. Food production, 20% from native sources. Morale high. Casualties, 0. This is impossible, Trell said to his aide. The observers confirm every detail, Ambassador. Trell looked at the data again. The humans were not just surviving. They were thriving. For the first time in his long career, Ambassador Trell felt something he had never experienced when dealing with younger species. Fear. 6 months had passed since the Perseverance landed on Kepler 442c. The temporary shelters were gone, replaced by permanent structures built from processed local minerals. The colony now had a name, New Frontier. Rebecca stood at the observation tower watching the morning work crews head out. What she saw would have shocked the Galactic Council. Humans walked alongside creatures that had once been classified as deadly predators. The armored beast that had charged Margaret on day 3 now pulled a wagon loaded with construction materials. Jack had named it George. Morning, Captain, Jack said, climbing up to join her. He moved easily in the high gravity now. They all did. George and his mate are working out perfectly. Turns out they're herbivores. Just really territorial herbivores. How many do we have now? Rebecca asked. 3 of the big ones. 5 of the smaller raptor types. Margaret says they're pack animals naturally, so they respond well to training. Jack grinned. Who knew Deathworld megafauna just needed proper handling? Below, Margaret herself was conducting a field lesson with a group of newly arrived researchers. She held up a plant with brilliant purple leaves and serrated edges. This is what the council called devil's weed, she explained to her students. Highly toxic to most species. But if you process it correctly, it makes an excellent antibiotic. We've already shipped samples to 3 different medical facilities. One of the galactic observers, a Quillian named Ven, watched from a safe distance in his gravity support rig. He had arrived 2 weeks ago, convinced the reports must be exaggerated. He was convinced no longer. A human child ran past him, laughing as she chased a ball. She moved in 1.8 times normal gravity like it was nothing. Behind her, her mother called out without concern. Don't go past the fence line, Emily. I won't, Mom. Ven's translator struggled with the casual exchange. Children. They were raising children here. In a Class 0 Deathworld. He approached Rebecca carefully. Captain Morris, may I ask a question? Of course, Ambassador. The children. Are they healthy? Rebecca smiled. Healthier than Earth-born children in some ways. Dr. Carter's reports show they're developing stronger bone density and cardiovascular systems. The high gravity is actually beneficial for growth. Ven felt faint. His species required artificial gravity support just to walk here, and human children were thriving. How many people live here now? He asked weakly. 1,200, Rebecca said. We're expecting another transport ship next month. Should bring us up to 1,500. But why? Why do more come? Rebecca pointed to the construction site where a new research facility was being built. We're offering things here that Earth can't. Training opportunities. Unique research. Williams' agricultural division just created a hybrid crop that grows in high gravity and produces triple the nutrition. Athletes from across human space are requesting permission to train here. As if to prove her point, a group of heavily muscled humans jogged past, running laps in the high gravity. Their trainer called out encouragement. 2 more laps. Feel that burn. This gravity makes champions. Ven watched them with something approaching horror. That evening, Rebecca hosted a colony barbecue. It had become a monthly tradition. The smell of cooking meat filled the air. What is that? Ven asked, his nostrils flaring. Local megafauna, Thomas said cheerfully, flipping steaks on the grill. That big raptor type that the council said was an apex predator. Turns out they're delicious. You are eating the apex predators? Well, we're the apex predators now, Thomas said with a shrug. They're just really big chickens. Jack joined them with a plate of vegetables. Try the roasted root vegetables. William grew these from hybrid seeds. Native plants crossed with earth potatoes. Ven took a small piece. It was actually quite good. How did you do this? Ven asked quietly. The council sent you here to fail. This planet has killed every other expedition. Yet you have turned it into a home. Rebecca sat down beside him. Can I tell you a secret, Ambassador? Please. When we first saw the classification for this planet, we were confused. Class 0 seemed harsh, but the data looked manageable. We've worked in worse conditions on Earth. Impossible. Your home is a garden world. Actually, Rebecca said, that's what we need to discuss with the council. Earth would rate as a Class 3 death world in your classification system. Ven's eating utensil clattered to the table. What? We didn't know your classification system was based on species from gentle worlds, Rebecca continued. We thought everyone came from places like Earth. High-gravity zones. Extreme weather. Predators. Diseases. We evolved fighting for survival every single day. Ven looked around the colony with new eyes. Human children playing. Families eating together. People laughing and singing as music played from speakers. You are all from a death world, he whispered. Yes. And this planet reminds you of home. A bit. It's actually milder than some places on Earth. The Australian outback has less water and more deadly creatures per square meter. Siberia is colder. The deep ocean zones have more pressure. Ven stood abruptly. I must report this to the council immediately. Wait until after dinner, Rebecca suggested. Try the dessert. William made pie from native berries. But Ven was already hurrying to his ship, his gravity support straining with each step. Behind him, the humans of New Frontier continued their evening, completely unaware that they had just shattered every assumption the Galactic Council held about survival, adaptation, and what it meant to be alive. The Galactic Council chamber was more crowded than Rebecca had ever seen it. Word had spread about the human colony's success, and every species wanted to witness the final report. 13 months had passed. The test was complete. Ambassador Trell stood at the central podium, his crystalline form dimmer than usual. He looked tired. Captain Rebecca Morris of Earth, you will now present your final colonization report. Rebecca walked to the center platform, her boots clicking on the crystal floor. Thomas and Daniel flanked her, along with Margaret, Jack, William, and Helen. They had brought the core team to show the council exactly who had accomplished the impossible. Members of the Galactic Council, Rebecca began, New Frontier Colony has successfully completed the required 13-month colonization period. She activated the holographic display. Numbers and images floated in the air above the assembly. Current population, 2,300 individuals. Fatality rate, 0.2%, lower than the average for established Earth cities. Economic output, 340% above initial projections. We are currently exporting pharmaceutical compounds, gravity-enhanced construction materials, and extreme environment technology to 17 different worlds. Silence filled the chamber. The kind of silence that comes from shock. This is impossible, a Dracian minister finally said. No species can thrive on a Class 0 world. You must have received outside support. Additional supplies from Earth. We received scheduled supply ships as outlined in the original agreement, Rebecca replied calmly. Nothing more. In fact, our last 3 shipments were incoming colonists, not supplies. We are producing more than we consume. A Vexian delegate stood. We demand proof. Real documentation. Of course, Rebecca said. She nodded to Margaret. Margaret stepped forward, her face glowing with enthusiasm. I have personally catalogued over 800 native species. 43 of them are now being studied for medical applications. We have domesticated 7 species for agricultural work. Our biodiversity research has already led to cures for 3 previously untreatable diseases affecting council species. Jack took over. Our engineering division has developed new construction techniques using local materials. The toxic minerals you warned us about? They process into materials stronger than standard Durasteel. We have 15 alien engineering firms requesting consulting contracts. William stepped up. Agricultural output is 200% above projections. We have successfully created hybrid crops combining Earth and Kepler biology. These crops grow faster, produce more nutrition, and require less water. 4 worlds have already purchased seed contracts. The council members looked at each other in confusion and disbelief. Ambassador Trell's form flickered rapidly. How did you survive what has killed every other expedition? Rebecca took a breath. This was the moment. Because you made a fundamental error in your assessment of humanity. What error? You assumed we came from a garden world. Rebecca gestured and the holographic display changed. Earth appeared, rotating slowly. Beautiful blues and greens, white clouds swirling across the surface. It looked peaceful. Safe. This is Earth, our homeworld. To the untrained eye, it appears gentle. But appearances are deceiving. The image zoomed in. The Sahara Desert appeared, endless sand and scorching heat. Surface temperatures here reach 70 degrees Celsius. Almost no water. Humans have lived here for thousands of years. The image shifted. Antarctica, endless ice and brutal cold. Negative 80 degrees Celsius. Winds that can tear metal. Humans maintain permanent research stations here. Next came the deep ocean. Pressure that would crush most council species instantly. Darkness. Cold. We explore here regularly. The images continued. Volcanic regions with rivers of molten rock. Rainforests filled with venomous creatures. Mountain peaks where the air was too thin to breathe. Earth has predators that hunt in packs. Diseases that killed millions before we learned to fight them. Natural disasters. Earthquakes, hurricanes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions. We survived ice ages. Asteroid impacts. Mass extinctions. Trell's voice was barely a whisper. What is your planet's actual classification? According to your own system, Daniel said, pulling up the data, Earth rates as a Class 3 death world. We didn't know this until recently. We thought everyone came from worlds like ours. The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted in a dozen languages. Several species stood and backed away from the human delegation as if they were dangerous animals. Order. Trell called. Order. When quiet finally returned, Trell looked at Rebecca with what might have been respect or fear. Perhaps both. You are saying that you, all of humanity, evolved on a death world? Yes. And Kepler 442c, our Class 0 world, is actually less hostile than several regions on Earth, Rebecca finished. Your classification system is based on species from gentle worlds. To us, Class 0 is challenging but manageable. Aquilian elder stood, his voice shaking. We sent you to die. We thought we were teaching you humility. Instead, we revealed our own ignorance. You didn't know, Rebecca said without anger. How could you? You assumed all species develop like yours. Trell was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice carrying through the chamber with formal weight. The Galactic Council hereby recognizes that humanity has passed the colonization test with exceptional results. You are granted full expansion rights to all Category 4 worlds as promised. He paused. Additionally, the Council offers humanity prime selection rights for Category 5 and Category 6 worlds. We also issue a formal apology for underestimating your capabilities. Thomas leaned close to Rebecca. Did we just get upgraded? We did, she whispered back. Trell continued. Furthermore, Earth is hereby reclassified as a Class 3 death world. Any Council species wishing to visit must sign safety waivers and receive appropriate training. Margaret laughed quietly. They're going to require waivers to visit Earth. That's brilliant. One final question, Captain Morris, Trell said. What are humanity's plans for further expansion? Rebecca smiled. We have received the coordinates for a class -1 world in the Scorpius sector. Volcanic surface. Toxic atmosphere. Constant tectonic activity. That world is considered uninhabitable. Completely unsurvivable. We already have 10,000 volunteers ready to attempt colonization. The council chamber fell silent again. Trell looked at the human delegation, these creatures from a death world who smiled when discussing volcanic hellscapes. What have we brought into the galaxy? He murmured. Rebecca heard him and replied loud enough for all to hear. Partners, Ambassador. You have brought partners who know how to survive. 2 years after the Perseverance first touched down on Kepler 442c, New Frontier had transformed from a test colony into a thriving city. 5,000 humans now called the planet home, and the waiting list for immigration grew longer every month. Rebecca stood at the edge of the central plaza, watching the daily rhythm of colony life. Human children played in the high-gravity playground, their laughter mixing with the calls of domesticated megafauna being led through the streets. Alien researchers in gravity support rigs moved carefully between buildings, taking notes and collecting data. Captain Morris? A young Quillian scientist approached, her support rig humming with effort. I wanted to thank you. The research I have conducted here will help my people develop better medicines. We could never have explored this world ourselves. You are welcome here anytime, Dr. Lena, Rebecca said warmly. Knowledge should be shared. Thomas jogged up, moving easily despite the heavy gravity. He had just returned from his morning run. Captain, you have got to see this. Jack's team finished the new training facility. They walked together through the colony streets. Vendors sold fresh produce from Williams Hybrid Farms. Margaret's Research Institute bustled with activity. The medical center that Helen ran now treated patients from 6 different species, all coming to New Frontier for treatments developed from the planet's unique biology. The training facility was impressive. Jack stood outside with a group of human athletes and several alien observers. Welcome to the toughest gym in the galaxy, Jack announced proudly. 1.8 times Earth gravity, adjustable atmospheric pressure, variable temperature zones. We can simulate conditions from a dozen different world types. A professional Earth athlete named Marcus finished his workout and emerged, drenched in sweat but grinning. 3 months training here and I broke my personal record back on Earth by 15%. This place is incredible. An alien military officer from the Dracian Empire watched with fascination. Our soldiers could benefit from such training. But could they survive it? We would start them slow, Jack explained. Build up tolerance. Your species might need 6 months where humans need 1, but it is possible. The Dracian nodded slowly. My government will be interested in this. That evening, Rebecca attended a community dinner at the colony hall. Long tables filled with humans and aliens eating together. William had prepared a feast using both Earth and Kepler ingredients. Ambassador Venn sat beside Rebecca, carefully eating the mild dishes William had prepared for non-human guests. I have written 17 reports to the council about this colony, Venn said. Each time they think I am exaggerating. They do not believe what you have accomplished. Then they should visit, Rebecca suggested. Some will. A delegation arrives next month. They want to see for themselves. Venn paused. They are also bringing a proposal. What kind of proposal? The council wishes to hire human consultants. There are 43 worlds classified as too dangerous for colonization. Worlds with valuable resources that cannot be safely extracted. They want to know if humans can help. Rebecca considered this. We would need to review each situation individually. We are not miracle workers. But you are the closest thing the galaxy has ever seen to it, Venn replied quietly. Across the hall, Margaret was showing a group of alien students a container with a small creature inside. It looked like a cross between a spider and a scorpion with gleaming black armor. This little guy is venomous enough to kill most species in this room within minutes, Margaret said cheerfully. But we have developed an anti-venom that is 98% effective. We are also studying the venom's properties. It may have applications for pain management. The alien students looked terrified and fascinated in equal measure. Daniel approached Rebecca with a data pad. Captain, we have received another request. The council is asking if we would consider attempting colonization of Ragnar 7. It is a class -1 world in the Scorpius sector. The volcanic one? Yes. Active lava flows. Sulfuric atmosphere. Surface temperature averages 200 degrees Celsius. Constant earthquakes. Daniel paused. They are offering us exclusive mining rights for 50 years if we can establish a functioning colony. How many volunteers do we have? Last count was 12,000. We will have to screen them carefully. Rebecca laughed. Of course we have 12,000 volunteers. Show me the full planet data. If we do this, we do it right. Thomas joined them. You are seriously considering the volcanic hellscape? Why not? We proved we can handle a Class 0. Let us see what we can do with a Class -1. The Council is going to think we are insane. Let them think what they want. We are expanding humanity's reach. That is what matters. The next morning, Rebecca stood at the observation tower as the sun rose over New Frontier. The sky glowed orange and purple. In the distance, George the megafauna let out a low bellow, calling to his mate. Human workers began their day. Alien researchers prepared their equipment. A message came through on her communicator. It was from Earth Command. Captain Morris, the Council has formally requested human assistance in colonizing hostile worlds. They are offering partnership terms that include technology sharing, trade agreements, and joint research initiatives. What is your recommendation? Rebecca looked out over the colony she had built from nothing. The colony that the Council had expected to fail within days. Tell them we accept, she replied. Humanity is ready to show the galaxy what Deathworld natives can do. Far across space, in the Galactic Council chambers, Ambassador Trell reviewed the new agreements. His aide stood beside him, nervous. Sir, are you certain about this? We are inviting Deathworld predators to spread across the galaxy. Trell watched footage from New Frontier. Human children laughing. Families thriving. Aliens and humans working together in harmony. We are not inviting predators, Trell said quietly. We are partnering with survivors. The greatest survivors the galaxy has ever known. They will teach us that the impossible is simply something no one has tried hard enough to achieve. He paused, watching Rebecca's image on the screen. We thought we were testing them. Instead, they taught us that we have been measuring the universe all wrong. Deathworlds are not places where life cannot exist. They are places where only the strongest life can thrive. And humans? Humans thrive everywhere. The message went out across the galaxy. New colony sites identified. Resources allocated. Training programs established. The age of human expansion had begun.